train will be here soon.
Zoe, I get it.
Do you? Because I wonder.
I don't expect you to understand.
Good, because I don't.
I just can't stay here. There are rules to follow and regulations that have to be...
To hell with your regulations.
Life, it just doesn't work that way.
Well, why can't it? Why can't life be the way we want it to be? Why do we have to live life the way other people expect us to?
Well, it's the best we can do.
And this is your best? This? Let me tell you, Linus Baker, there are moments in life, moments that you have to take advantage of. Just because you're scared of failing isn't a reason not to do it. Life is worth living. You have to take a chance. If you don't, you're just getting by. Don't you wish things could be different? Forget it.
Don't you wish you were here? Hi everybody, I'm Joe.
And I'm Mary.
And we're Book Buds. And today we are going to discuss the wonderful novel by T.J. Klune, The House in the Cerulean Sea.
We loved this book so very much, so we're going to give a quick overview of the plot before we talk about spoilers. So that if there's anybody that wants to read it, you don't have to watch the whole spoilery discussion.
Yes.
But we really, really love this. So the plot of this story, we have Linus Baker, who is basically, he's like a caseworker, and he goes and he assesses different homes to make sure that things are on the up and up with the kids that are placed there. And the kids that are placed there
are magical. Magical youth.
Yes. And so some are like, you know, there's lots of normal magical kids, but he has a special assignment and he has to go to a house that has like special cases. I think they're like level 4 classification or something like that.
Yeah. And he was, go ahead.
They're not discussed, you know, they're not known.
Right, very rare.
We have a dog guest star today.
And he was chosen because he is like the most objective and by the book caseworker.
Yes.
So they knew that he was the one to keep his distance, be detached, and be able to do his job, because this was like the rarest house with the rarest of magical children.
Yes.
And they really needed to like get a handle on this place.
Right. So they want somebody to be very proper, very rigid, and come back and report. And things may not go as planned with this report because something beautiful happens. So we're not spoiling by saying that, right? Something really beautiful happens in this book. When I mentioned this before, when we were talking about maybe like in a TBR that we were reading this or something, I was so emotionally engaged in this book. I loved that it was like, it was fantasy, you know, so I didn't have to feel any real heartache about real life things or anything, but there's so much real life emotion in this book. It's so beautiful. The transformation that the characters go through, the relationships. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's considering reading this, we highly recommend it. It's
not just a fantasy novel. Like, that's just like the setting and like the main plot points, but it's like all humans experience this. This is just such a human novel. It's beautiful.
So can we just do our spoiler discussion?
Yeah, I feel like I'm holding back. We need to get into it.
We do, absolutely.
So
oh my God.
Should we start with like the kids that were there? Like who's there?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so there's a whole list of kids in this house. So like the major, most popular one is the Antichrist.
Yes.
The son of Satan. The son of Satan. I
Lucy.
said that weird. Lucy, aka Lucifer. Get it? So funny. And can we talk about how funny Linus and Lucy is? When they're having dialogue, I'm like, it says Linus, it says Lucy. I'm like, Linus and Lucy, this is Peanuts.
That is very comical.
Yeah. So funny. So like he's supposed to be, you know, the Antichrist, the devil.
And he is so provocative. He's like, I'm gonna destroy the earth and obliterate everything.
Right.
He just drops these bombs of like all these horrendous things and you think, oh, the caseworker's gonna immediately file this, you know? It's just so terrible.
Right.
But he's such a cute kid.
He's like 6.
He's adorable.
And he just says all these things for like shock value. But so like I was telling you, Mary, that like I don't often laugh out loud during books. Most of what Lucy says in this book is hysterical and made me laugh so much because it's just so out there and outlandish that I was just like dying.
Yes.
And the way that Linus responds to it is hysterical.
I absolutely laughed out loud in this book too. It was
you did, right?
Yes. Yes. I really liked the one that had the button that Linus gave him when he was like looking for something to give him and he only had a button in his pocket. So he gave it to that little creature. What was he?
He was like a winged creature. Wervin. I think he was a Wervin. He's like one of the rare. He's like only a few left in the world.
Okay.
But he was the only one that wasn't like human. He doesn't like talk.
Right. He
had an animal.
He had like no language, but even having no language, there was so much feeling. So like he attached such a bond to Linus. Like there was the importance to this button that he gave him, and he just was so appreciative of it. It was his prized possession. He was just adorable. And then can we skip to the end? When he gives the button back to Linus as a parting gift, and that's where I totally cried.
That was nice.
I mean, that kid, that just, there's not even words there, and you're just so emotionally involved with that. So that was one of my favorite moments, my favorite kids.
That was a great moment.
Yeah.
Totally. And what about the garden gnome?
She was really funny. She was always wanting to kill him. She's like, I'm going to whack you with my shovel and bury you in the garden.
So funny. A garden gnome with her pointed hat. And she loves gardening, and she knows so much about it. They take a trip into the town. They go to like the hardware store, and she's like discussing it with like the woman who works there. And the woman's like, "You know all this about all the trees and the soil and everything." Very cool.
Yes, I loved. So they brought the town into their story because this house always stayed away on the island, tucked away because they needed to be separate. But Linus got them to go into the town, and like her bond with that woman about gardening, it was just so great because here, you're reading the book, you're seeing the human emotions in these monsters, these creatures that are so other, but you bond with them, and then the community did too. And it was just so beautiful.
And I love how that woman was like hesitant at first. Like she was kind of like, I don't know if I should be like feeling these feelings towards you, and then she softened, and then she became like an ally. So it was really cool.
Yes, a lot of good messages in this book.
Oh, so many good messages.
See, we can't even stick to talking about the characters.
I know.
Like we're off talking about how we felt.
There's too many, and I have so many quotes from this book that he's just this writer is just amazing. All right, let's go through the characters.
Okay.
So Chauncey.
Yes.
He was like that little blob. He also wasn't human. He was like a blob of something.
Like jelly, like
dew. But he was so cute. His major dream in life was to be a bellhop. I mean, how funny is that? Like, where did this guy get this?
Can I take your hat? Can I fold your clothes for you? Can I deliver this to your room?
He liked to do laundry, right?
Yes.
So funny. It's hysterical.
Adorable. And then when they went into the town and they met, he like saw a real bellhop, and he was like, "Oh my god, a bellhop!"
Yeah, I know. So funny.
Really cute.
Oh my god, I love Chauncey.
Yes.
And what's that name? So funny, Chauncey.
Who else did we have?
So I didn't really connect to her. I don't know if you did. Fee, the sprite. How did you feel about her?
Her character wasn't developed as much. I feel like she was kind of quiet in the book, but she was important because then we got to know Zoe, who I played in the scene, because she was the sprite for the island, protecting the island, and you got to see, I feel like it helped define Zoe's role because she was also teaching Fee about the island, and you kind of got to see a different side of Zoe when she was teaching, Yeah. But the kid itself, I don't feel like we got bonded with her.
Okay. So I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Sal.
And then there was Sal. He was great. So many good moments with Sal. So he was like a changeling, or
he would like change into a dog if he was scared. Yeah.
And he was just like 6 foot tall, thin boy, scared of everything. Turned into a dog.
No confidence.
Yeah.
And he wrote a speech at the beginning, right? That was him that wrote the speech at the beginning. I didn't understand the speech. It made no sense to me, but Linus made some nice reflective comments, and he's like, okay, thank you, and whatever. And it felt like maybe he was placating him. I don't know. But then he nurtured him through the story. Linus got connected with each of the kids. And so as he was nurturing him, he helped him to, don't keep your writing desk in the closet. Come out into the room where you can look out the window for inspiration.
That was such a beautiful moment.
Yes.
He brought him out into the light.
Yes, and because Sal was so scared, it took him a while to welcome Linus into his room.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want him popping into a dog and then not able to show him the room. So it took some time, but he brought him out into the light, like you said. And then at the end, I know I'm just going right to all the things that got me emotionally.
Do it, Mary.
But at the end, Linus has to do his kind of apology, reconciliation speech to them. And he quotes a great writer, and he quotes him with his original speech. And I was like, oh my God, that's so moving.
It gets you right here.
It
gets you.
Yeah.
So good.
Yes.
Because like, we can't forget, like, these kids are afraid of him because he is there to inspect their home and could possibly
shut them down.
Close it down. And they've been through this before. They've been sent here and there and everywhere. They've been abused. They've been traumatized. So, like, the fact that they, through the course of the book, form this amazing bond with him.
Yes.
And, you know, he has to go in their rooms and look at their rooms, right? So Sal, it took him the longest. It was just...
They love their home. They're very protective, and they love Arthur. We didn't talk about Arthur yet.
Arthur
is the man that runs their house. This man that gives his life to these kids in such a beautiful way and keeps them all in line. These kids that you think, like, how could anybody shape them and mold them with how outrageous they are in some of these things, right? But he does it all beautifully.
Such a good mentor.
Such a beautiful man.
So good.
And so there's a romance that's developing between him and Linus. And it's there from, like, kind of the very beginning, I feel like, you know, because Linus notices him. He's drawn to him, but, you know, puts his very professional face on and isn't going to say anything or do anything. But when they do connect and they have these little conversations, you see, like, they both light up. They both draw something out of each other in these conversations that nobody else gets to with them, you know, and they kind of, like, fire each other up. And I loved seeing the dance because it was like, no, we can't. No, like, I'm not even going to consider this relationship. It's not a possibility because, you know, I'm here to do my work. I'm here to make my reports. Yeah. And Arthur is just so, you know, careful and cautious. Like he wouldn't misstep or do anything inappropriate or anything like that. But yet you see the affection. And that's why our scene that we did, you have Zoe, the sprite of the island, who's mad at Linus for leaving because she's like, you're such an idiot. Like, you and Arthur belong together. She's not saying those things, but she's like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, you're an idiot, and I'm not going to tell you why because you should know. Because he belongs with Arthur, and he belongs there with those kids. That the love that grows is not just between him and Arthur, but Linus loves those kids.
Yeah,
and
totally.
like, really understands them and feels from them and everything. So she's like, you're an idiot. Why are you leaving? You need to stay.
And you're really rooting for Linus because, like, throughout the book, they really make it a point to tell you how, like, overweight he is and dorky and he has no friends and really doesn't have a life.
Yeah.
You know, there are some funny interactions with his neighbor. His neighbor's like that nosy neighbor sitting on her porch. So every time he comes home, she just, like, hurls all these insults. Yep. And, you know, it's mean, but it also... It's character development. Like, we are learning about Linus's life through those moments, and he really doesn't have much going on. Nothing. So, like, to have this dude who is in charge of this house, like, find him attractive or just give him a chance and just be drawn to his spirit is so cool and so awesome, especially since Arthur is a magical being himself.
Yes, which was pretty exciting.
We find that out in, like, the last third of the book.
And I thought he was going to be like some terrible creature because you have the blackened basement that's shut off. I thought he was going to be something like from hell, like hell flames were going to come out of him, you know, because he burnt this room up when they had to lock him in there as a kid. Yeah. And like, you know,
I thought he was a dragon.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like something hellish, you know, like uncontrollable, you know, really demonic. I felt like they were painting him as negative.
For a moment, I thought they were going to say that he was Satan.
The father of Lucy, right?
Lucy sleeps with him.
I thought that too.
Sleeps in the same area.
Room. Yeah.
I was thinking, is that his father?
Yeah, I thought that also.
Okay, so we were on the same page.
Yes. And so here, like, you know, you're being painted this picture of somebody that is likely very negative and terrible, and he's like putting on a facade of being good. But no, he really is amazing.
We didn't say what he was.
He's a phoenix.
He's a phoenix.
So he bursts into flames like a phoenix does, right? But like, how beautiful.
And it was really cool how they did that, because when the phoenix actually came out, like, you have Arthur as like the person, the human, but the phoenix was like a whole separate entity above him. And like, they were acting you know, like they were connected. Like Arthur was on the ground, the phoenix is above. Yes. That was cool.
Yes, it's like born out of him. Like, I didn't think about it at the time, but you know, the phoenix is all about like going through life and transformation and all that. And so Linus, for me, the story of this, the whole point of the story is like Linus's transformation in life, you know?
Yes, rebirth.
Yes, and I feel like Arthur makes him transform, because Linus is like, you know, he's this rigid, dorky guy, right? And he's going and he's doing his investigative report. And well, no, we're going on an adventure today. Arthur's like, come on, kids, we're going to do our adventure and we're going to stomp off into the woods, but we have to put on our adventure clothes. So here you go, Linus, here's your adventure clothes. And he gives him these little shorts and this shirt that makes his belly stick out. And Linus is like, I look like a total idiot, but, you know, he puts it on because he has to. And he's like, ugh, but he goes on the adventure.
Yeah.
Well, then at the end of the book, don't you know, he comes in those adventure clothes and he's like, I'm ready for an adventure.
Yeah.
Arthur made Linus transform.
Oh,
you know?
So good.
So beautiful.
So good.
I loved this story.
Mary, there were like so many lines in this book that are like just gems. Can I tell you a few of them?
Yes, tell me.
All right, so when he first got to the island and he meets Zoe, right? She says, "You don't look as I expected." And the next line is, he didn't know what to do with that. He had never really been seen before. So this just like reinforces what we were just talking about Linus, how he's just like a nobody. And he's never really been seen before. That like got me, and I immediately went to my notes and wrote it down. Like, it just tells you so much about him. And like, that's what makes a great writer. Like, there were things before this that led to that conclusion, but like with just those few lines, like it really solidifies like his character and like his traits and what he's going through. Like, oof.
Amazing writer. Really
so
amazing
good.
writer.
Right? Okay.
What else you got?
Another interaction with Zoe. All these good moments happen with her. They're talking about going out hiking into nature with the kids, and Linus says, "I'd rather sit in my chair and listen to my music." And she says, "There's music everywhere, Mr. Baker. You just have to learn to listen for it." So I loved that, because that's so true. There's music everywhere. Okay, and then an interaction between Lucy and Linus. It was right before Linus left, and Lucy was saying, you know, "You are one of us. Stay. You know, you are one of us now." And Linus says, "I'm afraid I don't have any magic." And Lucy says, "You do, Mr. Baker. Arthur told me that there can be magic in the ordinary."
Yes. I remember that line. That was beautiful. And I was like, oh, you idiot, stay. Stay.
Right? And I relate that to where the music one. Music is everywhere. You just have to learn to listen to it. So like, music is magic, and magic is music, and music can be everywhere, and so is magic. Just like you have to learn to look for it. Open your eyes. One more. This is between Arthur and Linus, and Arthur is trying to get him to stay with him, and he says, "Your bubble, Mr. Baker, it's been popped. Why would you allow it to grow around you again?" Do you remember the bubble metaphor? It was kind of throughout the book. It's like, you know, you're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You're out of your little bubble, and your bubble's been popped. And I think someone else said it. You know, why would you let it regrow? Like no, come on, Linus, take this leap, go.
And he couldn't do it. He couldn't see it. He had to leave the island to realize that he had made a mistake in leaving.
Yeah.
So our scene ends with her saying, you know, "Don't you wish it could be different?" And Linus says, "Don't you wish you could be here?" And I thought that was so beautiful too, because the author had him looking at his mouse pad at his desk every day with a beautiful scene of somewhere else, tropical or whatever it was, and it said, "Don't you wish you could be here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do wish I could be here." Well, now here you are, man, and you're leaving it. Why are you leaving it? You were there. So
this was like a perfect book for me.
It was
in every aspect.
I had no idea it would be the perfect book for me. It was amazing.
Right?
Tell me why for you, and I'll tell you why for me.
Oh my God, kind of like what I said before. It's just, it blended fantasy and real life stuff and all these symbolic moments and the imagery and the meaningful lessons. Like, I always look for like a lesson, because I'm like a corny cornball, and you could relate it to like in this book, the underdog was like, you know, the underdog were like the magical children, and they were being, you know, ostracized from everybody and looked down upon. And you can change that. You can relate it to like different races or different sexual orientations, and like, it's just so relatable.
Absolutely. This was perfect for me for all those same reasons. I'm just going to say it a little differently, because I don't like to read a book about real life that makes me cry. There's enough real life around me all the time. So like, it doesn't mean to say that I want to shut down and not think about things, but when I'm reading for pleasure, I don't want to overly feel about real things, right? So I want fantasy, and this had fantasy. And then I had serious emotions in here, but the emotions didn't hurt me as much because it was couched in the fantasy, you know? So when my heart ached, my heart was aching in the story. I didn't have to ache about real life things, even though it was making me think about real life things. And I did love that it was making me think, you know? It was challenging me and making me think, and it was doing a lot of like what we felt with Every Day with that series, you know? I did a lot of thinking with that series too, about how we perceive people, how we respond to people, about our initial impressions of people, you know, the judgments we make. And so I was thinking all those things, but like in a safer way, because it was all couched in the fantasy, so it didn't have to hurt my heart as much. I still like really felt like just was having a fun time with it, but was so gripped, and like I laughed, I cried, I just felt it was amazing.
Very moving.
Yes, I didn't know I wanted a book to be so moving, because when I'm reading fantasy stuff, it's not moving like this, you know? But I absolutely enjoyed how moving this was in the fantasy setting. It was amazing. Perfect book for me.
It's an A+, guys.
I want more. I've never read anything like this.
No. And we both ran out, got his other book, and we're going to buddy read it because we are so excited.
We're starting tonight.
It sounds amazing.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so happy we found. See, this is why I like to read different people and different authors and just like random people that I don't know, because you could find just amazing work. There's so many talented people out there.
I didn't used to take chances and read different things, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah, yeah.
Great book. So let us know if you guys read this. Do you feel as passionately as we do? If you haven't read it, are you going to? Let us know.
We're gushing. This is our gush, as Andrew always says. We always talk about Andrew, right? Gush, is that the terminology? Booktube. All right, well, if you're enjoying Book Buds, give us a thumbs up.
And share us with your friends.
And what do I say?
Subscribe to our channel. Book Buds.
And scene.
I was up all night reading this book. I loved it.
I get it. Your train will be resumed. I get it. What do I get? I get it. There were lines before this.
You get that I'm upset about you. I feel that I feel you should be staying here. Look at me.
I get it.
I feel you should be staying here. And you're being a fucking idiot that you're leaving.
I get it.
Okay?
All right, Zoe, I get it.
Yeah. So I'm annoyed that I'm driving you to this fucking train station. Okay?
You're so good at this, Zoe Chapelwhite.
Do you? Because I wonder. Let me tell you something, Linus Baker. Those chances isn't living. It's called getting by. Don't you wish you could be here? That's not my line. Don't you understand that you're scared of failure? But if you don't take the chance of those moments...
If you don't take the chances of the moment.
Let me tell you something, Linus Baker. There are moments in life when school bells ring.
School bells.
Because you're scared of failure is no reason not to take that opportunity. I'm like, where am I going to go with this sentence? It's like I need a word to throw in. What is it?